hygiene factors does not really make you happy. Like, they don't help you to stick to a job in the long term. So I feel like I hated most of my jobs throughout my career. This happened so many times where it's like, at one point I thought I had a very good offer. Everything looks pretty nice. Everything is ideal. The salary range is also perfect. The title is pretty cool. But then after I started that job for like 2 months or 3, this initial excitement and also this dopamine boost kind of just died down. The dream job does not feel like a dream job anymore. And for the longest time, I thought this was pretty normal because I always hear people saying, if you're able to find happiness, if you actually love what you're doing, then you're a lucky man. You're an outlier because 90% of the people don't like what they're doing. They just have to do it. Also, at the same time, I thought I'm just that type of person that got bored very easily. Like, I'm always on the chase for something new. Until recently, I realized there might be something wrong with the job itself as well as my personal career choice. And to put it in a simple way, I didn't know myself well enough back in the days, and I wasn't really clear about what I really want. And this realization came from this book I read called How Would You Measure Your Life, written by this guy called Clayton Christensen. It's a long name. So this book is actually not only focused on career, but I think the part it talked about career gave me a lot of clarity, as well as helping me build up a certain, I would say, structure, or you could say like a framework to think about my future decision making. And that's actually pretty helpful in helping me with some bigger decisions such as a job offer, as well as something as small as a side project or side hustle. And I think that can be pretty helpful and applicable to my audience. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Carl, and I make mostly English content on career, personal learning and development, as well as some random thinking. So if these are the contents you're interested in, consider subscribe. So why are people not happy or even feeling miserable in their career? And I think the core problem is that when we're making some career choices, whether that's trying to get into something or make a pivot or trying to leave where you're currently at, or sometimes just like exploring certain options, what we think matters the most oftentimes does not align with what's actually making us happy, like what we truly want. I used to think I'm okay with doing anything as long as the money is right, as long as I am compensated for all those bullshit. Back in the days, I gave so much credits to the job title. Like, I thought it was so important to have my title right. I did not think my job was cool at that time. Like, everything else is actually not that bad except for the title. I feel like that became one of my unfulfilled desire for my next few career choices. It's like I was trying to pursue something with a cooler title, which I did. But then later in my career, I realized title doesn't really matter. Like, it might make me happy for maybe a week, but after a week, it's just gone. Like, I don't really care about that anymore. So the concept I want to talk about initially stems from something called two-factor theory. It comes from this American psychologist called Frederick Herzberg, and he basically categorizes all these factors we have when we're considering potential career choice into 2 different categories, which is hygiene factors as well as motivators. Within hygiene factors, there are common things like compensation, which is pretty straightforward, the amount of money you're getting, and then job status, which kind of associates with your identity about that job. It's like generally people consider doctor, lawyer, consulting, investment banks as some, high-end careers. And I know it's not really politically correct to judge this, at least discuss openly, because people say things like all jobs are equal. But I think the status spectrum do exist. Like, there are certain social stigma associated with certain jobs. And then it could be something like job security, like in a general sense, mature companies is better than startups. And then corporate jobs is better than freelancing because they're more stable and more consistent. And then it could be work conditions. For example, some companies have some fancy offices with some pool tables. They got some great coffee machines, standing desk. They give you MacBooks for your work laptop instead of some crappy ThinkPads, along those things. And then the rest could be like company policies and supervisory practices. For example, does your manager micromanage? How much authority or autonomy do you have? And then the other category, motivator, is more interesting. And these are the intrinsic factors that actually make people love what they do, which relates to your actual sense of purpose and fulfillment. Under this category, things are more intangible, things like achievements, meaningful, challenging work, how much recognition do you have, responsibility to the outside world, to the others. And then finally, it's about your personal growth and development. Are you growing on this role? When we're making our career decisions, we more or less think about one or few factors from this list. But I think what's interesting was that people are just mixing the hygiene factors with the motivators when they're making the decision. For me, in the past, I looked so much into the hygiene factors, particularly income. When I was doing like a direct comparison for my job with others, all I can see was just the number, the compensation, because that was the most intuitive and obvious thing I can be looking at. And you're probably like, so what? I don't care about my responsibility. I don't want to give out to the world. I only care about how much I'm getting paid. I like cool offices. I like those high-end coffee machines at my office. I just want to get into one of those companies. Another thing interesting about this theory is that hygiene factors does not really make you happy. Like, they don't help you to stick to a job in the long term. And they're only helpful in preventing dissatisfaction. Also, in terms of a two-factor theory, there were two papers in 2010 and 2022 respectively. Both studies confirmed that motivators such as achievement and recognition significantly drive job satisfaction. And then hygiene factors such as salary, company policies, and work conditions, when not enough or even missing, can lead to dissatisfaction, but they're less effective at creating high motivation. And this means we want a basic level of hygiene factors to prevent us from feeling unhappy, but they're probably not very helpful, or at least not as helpful as we think in making us happy. So building on this concept on a practical sense, I started to do some visualization exercise where I start to imagine what my dream jobs looks like. Like, what could my day-to-day looks like? What could be some potential conflicts I have? What could be the interaction between me and my colleague and my boss looks like? And what does it look like 3 months, 6 months down the road? And then is there something missing or unrealistic about what I truly want? And I think how this exercise helped me was that I became hyper conscious about what I'm chasing right now. If there's something I like about a certain job, I am pretty clear whether that's a motivator or it's more about a hygiene factor. If it's a hygiene factor, I might be aware that this thing could die down after 3 months. Like, it could become nothing and I might be not caring about this anymore. And on the flip side, if for a certain opportunity, I can see a real motivator, like something that really aligns with my personal value, my sense of purpose and fulfillment, I might be able to make more of a conscious compromise in some of the hygiene factors. And I definitely think that would be a way smarter decision to make. And this whole process definitely gave me more clarity on what I'm actually chasing or what I actually care about in the long term. And it also saved me some opportunity costs on having to explore things from 0 to 1, which is also a lot of time and effort. So that's all for this video. Hope you enjoy it. And if you find it helpful, please click that like button. And if you like more content like this, consider following me. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next.